Even though this has been the hottest summer on record, what's up with that? It has been a great year in the garden for things like cantaloupe and Armenian cucumbers. There are some vegetables that just love the heat. If we haven't met before, my name's Angela from Growing in the Garden, and in today's video I'm going to take you on an end of summer garden tour. You'll see those vegetables that really love the heat and they're still producing and doing well because it's still pretty hot here, and there's also several monsoon plantings that are getting ready to harvest. I'll show you all of those as I take you around my garden and show you what's growing. Cantaloupe has been such an amazing producer this year. We keep getting fruit after fruit after fruit after fruit from this vine. It's really been just incredible producers. Hottest summer ever, go figure. Cantaloupes loved it. Because it has been such a hot summer, we are definitely happy to see the nighttime temperatures cooling off just a bit. And as those nighttime temperatures fall, the plants start to wake up and come out of that summer dormancy. You start to see new growth in a lot of those plants, and that's what I'm noticing around the garden. Blossoms where there wasn't blossoms before, where things were just kind of hanging on. It's nice to walk around the garden and get excited about things like new growth and blossoms forming, rather than just surveying the damage from the 100 and whatever degree heat. It has been so hot. So these cooler temperatures are much appreciated and much anticipated. The ginger looks a little worse for wear. I removed its shade. I probably should have left it up a little bit longer. We'll give this ginger another couple of months. A lot of the rhizome growth happens at the very end, so I want to leave this in the ground as long as possible until the fronds really begin to die back so we can get as big a harvest as possible. Same with the turmeric. Looks a little worse for the wear. We don't have ideal conditions for it, but provided shade for most of the summer. Again, once these die back, we will harvest the turmeric. So the peanuts are under here somewhere. I definitely did not give them enough room. Just waiting for the tops to die back a bit. Growing in this same bed are the eggplants. They were getting so large that I cut them down to soil level. Once temperatures dropped just a bit, they began to flower, the bees came, and now we're gonna have plenty of eggplants, it looks like. This bed also has a honey melon planted in it, and once I took that shade off, it just went nuts. So the honey melon extends across here. Sweet potatoes. I think I'm gonna harvest these in the next few weeks. There are a few key points to remember for having a successful garden any time of year, but it's especially important when the temperatures are so hot. The first thing is you want to focus on having really good soil. Make sure that you have a good amount of soil in your beds, that you fill the beds all the way up, and that you have really good soil. I like to use a mixture of compost and either peat moss or coconut coir and vermiculite. Those three things together have the magic touch. The soil is able to absorb water, but yet there's still air in there for the roots. The second thing that you need to focus on is watering. Make sure you have an efficient way to water. I love the watering grids that I use. It's a drip irrigation system that also divides the garden up into square feet, because I'm a big fan of square foot gardening. You don't have to use those. You can use any sort of drip irrigation to water your garden during the summer, but make sure you have some sort of automatic watering system. That's going to make a huge difference in the success of your garden. The next thing to think about is what you're planting. Make sure what you're planting doesn't mind the heat. Make sure they are adapted to grow during the hottest months of the year. And plant those crops at the right time. I can't tell you how important that is. Make sure they get planted early enough so that their roots are established and they can do well during the hottest months of the year. Those are 4 basic principles that when followed, those principles will help you be successful. The roselle is just about to be the star of this garden. So this is a 4x8 bed and it has completely overtaken this bed. The calyxes are just starting to form. In another week or two, this is going to be covered in blooms. have the snake beans on the inside of this trellis, and they have struggled, but I really don't think they get enough sun. Looking around the garden, I'm amazed by all the basil. I'm surprised at all the places that I tucked basil in, but I'm not sorry. We're enjoying lots of basil, and the bees are loving it too. So much basil. We've harvested a lot, but obviously I'm not keeping up on it, and I need to harvest much, much more. I don't grow loofah every year, and this is exactly why. It totally takes over wherever it is planted. It's a lot of fun to grow, and it's really pretty. These blooms are beautiful. The bees love them. So if we go in through the trellis here, you can see the loofah is basically covering the entire top. I've been working on a book all about container gardening, and in my garden this year, I've planted in a lot of containers. It's been fun to see how well they do in containers. This is a container Swiss chard. So we'll see. It's popped up. Looks like it's gonna be okay. At the end of August or beginning of September, I cut back many of the pepper plants that had been overgrown, and it's fun to see all that new growth happening, and we're looking forward to great pepper harvest this season. Winter squash has a way of overtaking everything. So I added this vertex cage to the winter squash, and I've just let it climb up. Seems to be pretty happy so far. Same with the cucumber. They're happiest if we can give them something to climb. The story with this bed is this winter squash. It, of course, just takes so much room. I think there's a couple fruit on here. I almost want to say this one's for the bees. They're so happy out here. These mini jack pumpkins were just getting eaten alive by the bugs. So I added these trellises, just those ladder mesh blocks. Lots of fruit forming. They're kind of climbing up the ladder, taking over the chives. We also have some beans that I thought were bush beans, but obviously are pole beans. Over here there was a volunteer, and I wasn't sure what it was. And it turns out to be a cucumber, so I couldn't be happier. This bed is all about the tomatoes. Purple hyacinth vine is also in this bed with the tomatoes, and it is really just starting to be beautiful. Planted it at the base of this ladder. It's climbing up the trellis. Once those just barely cooler temperatures hit, it really takes off. Tried to keep the coral vine more contained this year, but it still really just does its own thing. Loves to climb, starting to bloom. Patiently waiting for this GOMPHRENA to bloom. Grew it from seed and it is gorgeous, so once it blooms I'm sure it'll be really pretty. I feel like I should give this lemongrass a name. It's gotten so large. I definitely need to do a big harvest, preserve some, and then divide this up. It has overtaken this corner and loved the summer heat. The asparagus bed is just doing its thing. All these fronds are giving energy to the roots. When it gets cooler, they will die back, and then at that point I'll cut them off. But for now, we just let them go. Right, so CUCUMELON. Basically, the way I've found to grow CUCUMELON here in Arizona is to plant it in the spring and keep it alive through the summer. And so then hopefully once those cooler nighttime temperatures hit, it just starts to take off, and then right on cue you will start to see little CUCUMELONs forming. The Armenian cucumber just cranking out the fruit. This is also in the melon family, and so it's been a great year for Armenian cucumbers. some of these summer crops finish up, we'll definitely be making room for fall planting. As the temperatures cool down, I'm really excited about planting out a lot of those really fun things that we can plant in fall. Hope you've enjoyed this summer garden tour. Thank you so much for watching.